We're back at it again. It's your boy E Tally with this is high school hoops talk, where I'm going off the mark a little bit, and I'm changing up how I want to do this. And the reason I'm changing up on how I want to do this again, this is my second year doing this, but I think that my next guest is very influential in our city, not just for high school basketball, but also for youth development. He is he has his own program. It's called the Spartan Program. He is the owner operator. He's been doing that for 16 years. He's also worked with many, at least 10 plus NBA players, helping them with their skill development. He goes overseas and he gives back to those guys over there in Italy and several other European countries. He's been doing that for 9 years. He's a husband, he's a father, he tries as many games as he can make sure he makes when he's not traveling. And also he's also helped over 150 kids get into college. Tim Springer. Coach Springer, how you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Hey, good, man. That was a mouthful, bro.
Yeah. I'm okay when it's usually a little more condensed, but it was it.
No, man. No, I had to do it that way.
Fast.
And the reason why, again, like I was telling you prior to starting, my hat goes off to you. A lot of respect to you and what you've been doing. And one of the reasons why is just your longevity. I got here in 15 as far as my residence, and you started and well, no, excuse me, you've been doing what you've been doing at that time for a while, where your program was one of the premier training programs for development in the city, Spartan basketball.
Been a long time coming for sure.
And
Walking up
and
on 20 years.
and here we are. I'm 10 years into the city, and guess what? You still doing what you do.
Yeah.
And,
It's
and
definitely a passion.
hey man, and the funny part was when I saw you're taking this to the next level. You know, you're an older trainer. I'm not trying to tell your age, but you're an older trainer and you're utilizing social media as a marketing tool. So to me, that's hats goes off and you let me know you're trying to stay in this game for quite a while.
Appreciate it. That part kind of came easy being that I've been around long enough. I started before smartphones. I remember when Blackberries were amazing. And so to see that you could reach with value, reach with education, and then hopefully, yes, get more players in your gym, definitely had to jump on that one.
Well, let's just jump right into it, man. So first question, what inspired you to start Spartan basketball and what was your vision when you launched your program?
So the root of it was I had played 2 years of JUCO. I came down here a little naive to the recruiting process because my path wasn't a normal one. And then also you couldn't take your phone out and record 500 games and send them all out in one email or have 5,000 people see it online at that point, right? You had to actually get a real camera that probably cost $300-400,
Right.
film it and send it out, whatever. So I found out that my career was probably going to be over at that point, as far as playing goes, but I saw that how much love I had, and so I kind of was dabbling in coaching and training, and just found that I still love training a little more than coaching. And so I was under some other programs, Home Court America, which very grateful for, taught me a lot. A couple other programs, Don Eddy for a little bit as well, and picked up so much amazing stuff. But I said, man, I just felt there was a vision for what I wanted to build and what I needed to grow inside me that, and broke off ties in the right way. Oh, excuse me. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, good.
Sorry, I accidentally hit a button, wiping something off, and we
You're
lost it.
good.
But anyways, back to my point. I think the last stop was Don Eddie, and I felt something in my heart. I had something in my mind that I knew had to come out. And just the way I wanted to develop, not that any of those places were wrong, but I just felt I had a voice in the way, similar to Tex Winter with the triangle offense, right? That's was his way of doing it.
Right.
So around that same time, I actually joined the National Guard, was infantry for 6 years, went back to school, got my kinesiology. A lot of during that time in influence why Spartan. Everybody asks me, are you from Michigan? And the answer is no, from New York, actually. But I had to actually do a paper when I was going back to school about Spartans. And the one thing I really loved was they develop, like, first of all, like what gender you are at birth determines whether you're a warrior or not. And if you're a male, you're a warrior, period. That's what it is. Like, you don't, your destiny is already decided for you. But at every single stage of life, especially those first 15 to 18 years, it was a grooming process. It was a methodology of how to create you to be one of the elite warriors. If you remember the movie 300, it came out about the same time, so that probably influenced as well. But the other army goes to the leader of the Spartans and he goes, "Hey, we've got 300 guys, you got 30." And he's like, "No, you got farmers and you got doctors. We have 30 warriors." And so I was like, that's it to me. That made so much sense. I'd gone to basic training about that time. So I was very military minded, especially being infantry. And I wanted something that kind of said that because when I got to basic training and I watched for the first 2 weeks, nobody picked up a pistol. Nobody picked up any kind of weapon. You learned how to be a soldier. You learned the discipline and the grooming and the etiquette and the confidence and the just your approach to every single thing you did first before anybody got to do anything in their specific job, whether you were infantry or medic or comms or intel, whatever. And I was like, that's it. Like that with the Spartan made so much sense to me. And so I started looking at it and approaching that from that way, started taking the frameworks that I love from the programs I had worked at and said, okay, it's this. And then now let me get in the lab and start formulating this to what I need this to be, where it's, yes, we're going to build high performing basketball players, just like the military is going to perform high performing infantry, medics, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's always going to start with that first 2 weeks of basic training and continue within that, right? So, like, you were military, I know. So, like, yes, you had to go to trainings for your MOS, but you also had to go to just soldier training. This is how you're a soldier. This is why we're the most elite military in the world because of this, right? I mean, it says it's budget spending. I get it. That's part of it, but no, it's how you're grooming your soldiers, right? So that's just where it kind of came from. And then, putting basketball into that and figuring out how does that make sense? Because like, and everybody sometimes goes, "Ooh, the military thing. I don't know if my kid, I haven't pushed any kid to the military. I mean, kids have I like just for instance, like Mason Thomas just asked me, "Hey, what do you think about me going to the Air Force?" And I gave him my thought, but I never like, "Hey, you got to go to the Air Force," nothing like that, right? Just a good example. But it was I watched how military people moved in daily life and their discipline and their organization and their structure and their drive to where I said, that's elite. That's not a knock on anybody who's not, but that's elite. Like that's what a high performer does in some sense. So let's go create high performers that play basketball.
Well, one, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
That's definitely a fun fact that I bet a lot of people in the city don't know that about you. Well, it's two fun facts that you're from New York, and then also
Yeah.
that you are you serve, and that's really cool. And I think those who serve understand even more that 1% that are trying to play next level sports. It doesn't matter to just be basketball, but any next level sport, and the drive and the determination they really need to have. And you can, I remember that someone used to always say you can figure out a kid who really wants to go to college and a kid who just wants to play basketball. They're two different people. They're two different people, and I don't think enough parents understand that. But anyway, I'll go off on that. But again, thank you again for your service. So over the last 10 years for me watching you and just seeing how the Spartan program, is what it is, how do you feel as though it evolved in the terms of player development and then the community aspect? That's one thing I did love as far as when I first saw it, how involved with the community you were over there when you were at your old spot over there by 1604 and 10. I mean, you were there, man. Like everyone knew you. Everyone knew who Spartan basketball was.
Well, as far as the evolution, I think it started a lot with skills because, like most coaches and most trainers, we teach what we were taught first until we find our own frameworks and our own philosophies and grow upon them. And so it was a lot of the skills that came up under Coach Kramer and Ivan Keene and Don Eddy again, which was very skill orientated, right? And the player development side came when I started understanding the mental performance that's necessary, the evolution of identity, learning, again, here, another military term, but being able to take your tools and assets and serve for something that besides just your playing time and your scoring and be what we call in basketball contributor of winning, you know what I mean, of success. And so I really got enthralled with that. And that's actually the spot as I've gotten older that I've really become passionate about. And I've always been in personal development, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn back in the day. I don't know if this generation knows who the heck Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar is, but you could go back and learn a lot from those guys as well. And so I always wanted to integrate ways to do that. And so to find ways that I could be in that, was very important to me. And as far as the community, like I love this community. It embraced me. It gave me opportunities to continue this game 20 years beyond my playing career. Like that I can't help but to have gratitude. Now, could it have happened in a Dallas? Could it have happened in a Houston? Maybe. But I've always felt in my heart like it was meant to be San Antonio, and San Antonio's the reason that it happened. So if any way I can be in the community, I'm going to be there, whether it's present for games, like you said, trying to put together other events or other things that maybe are basketball orientated, but aren't necessarily just training with me or my program. I think that's important. Getting involved with Forward with Ryan Forstier and the amazing movement she has for those young ladies. Like, if I've been this blessed, how can I not help the next person who's trying to bless the community as well? The one that, again, held me, supported me, and has allowed me to, flourish in the ways that I've been able to, as well as feed my family.
Well, one thing I do love seeing is, yes, you do have a high school aged son. I love when I see you at other games where he's not playing. Johnson's nowhere near there. They're on the other side of town, and you're still at those games supporting those athletes that you train. I love seeing that. So again, man, kudos to you. And I think that's what, it kind of goes to my next question. What sets the Spartan basketball program from any other program here in the city?
The generic, the generic responsibility would be their approach, but to give context to that, like I said, all this is gratitude for me. So um, before I got to the pro side of being able to help that level or even college level, when I was young, starting Spartan basketball, um, it was a lot of gratitude, and there was always a desire to show them what their next stage would be. But I wasn't a pro. I didn't play high level college. I played JUCO, right? And to be honest, I walked on. So I didn't necessarily know, right, how to do it. Like, you hear a lot on like, oh, well, if you haven't done it, you can't teach it. Yeah, but if you can learn and understand and start duplicating a process, yes, you can. And I hate when it's said because it's so black and white. And there's so much gray in that because there is people who have not played at that level and don't do what they need to do to learn and figure it out, how to create it, right? Even in the NBA, some of the best coaches were not high level players, right? Um, or of that level. Let me say that, right? Yeah, Steve Kerr was, but that's a different story. Ime Udoka was, that's a different story. So finding that, and the second I was able to get access to that information, this is what pushed the social media too, because I was like, I got to give it back, not just to the players that are in the gym with me, but players, period. Of like, I was just with Becky Hammon in the gym back when she was a player, and I learned this. Okay, well, tonight's workout, how can I incorporate that with seventh graders? They're not going to do what Becky Hammon did, but how can I break it down in bite-sized pieces? And it started just small like that, like day by day. Because there was a time, just to give an example, I interned with the Stars, or when I was at UTSA, I'd work with some of the players on both teams. And that would be in the morning. Well, I'd have to train kids at night. And so I would just see, I'd already had a plan for the kids, which wasn't just what the college or pros did, but there was something, right? There's a little snippet of that, little nugget, and I'd slip it in there. And then again, as my time went through, that repetition of day by day happened. I started building the overall philosophy, and I said, okay, so here's my format. This is what it looks like to be the best. All right. And then let's reverse engineer it. So at this stage, it should be this stage, it should be this, and this stage, it should be this. And then what I always did was, as they were ready, I always taught one level higher than what they were. Because I said, they may get it, they may not get it. But if they do get it, they're separating themselves from 75, 80% of their peers, right? Whether those train with me or not. And they're already more prepared. That's why a lot of our college players, they go in and they're fine freshman year. They play freshman year. Mia Ramos right now is a great example. Like she's doing a wonderful job. She looks like a sophomore out there, right? Because she was prepared for this before she ever got to that. And it's just that reverse engineering the highest level. And then if you're ready for the next one, I'm gonna bump you up. The next one, I'm gonna bump you up. And that's kind of where it just cultivated into. And I don't think I'm the only one doing it,
Right.
but I know my experiences and the experience I've been able to give my staff and people around me are unique, and they're very productive, and they're very successful.
Right.
So let's go give the tools I have instead of trying to be something I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm gonna
Right.
teach you how to be LeBron. I can't even teach you how to be LeBron. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right. So So that's great that you said that because that goes to my next question. Where did you realize that you were making a real difference in basketball kids' life? Not the matter of fact, let's do both. Let's go the kid that does go to college, but also what you do, it works a lot because everyone's not going to college. And I'm starting to really notice that here in the city. And those who train to the realistic aspects of saying, hey man, listen, you are the best high school basketball player you're going to be. But I don't see you having full, and you do a good job at that. You do a really good job of being honest to kids and saying, hey man, I don't see college for you if you don't change some of your habits. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
where did it really where did you see the difference? Like, okay, hey, my program is making that college player and it's still making that good child or developing that good young adult to being a good citizen here to San Antonio.
It was obviously it was a lot more of the hey, Johnny made the A team or Johnny scored 15 points in the game. Johnny was the best shooter on his team, all that. And it started there. But then as you know, um you watch a kid go from middle school to high school and into college, and if you get blessed to still be in their lives and have a relationship with them beyond that, like you see the more the effect of what this whole basketball thing does. But to me, and again, this is why I love the training. I think basketball as the experience of being on a team and being in a season and striving together to achieve a common goal is experiences that grow you immensely. But I also think the how you train and develop yourself is is a huge part of that experience as well. And I started to see that part correlate. You know what I mean? Where, after I got some kids that maybe got out of high school, whether they played college or not, they became man, woman, mom, father, husband, CEO, entrepreneur, and they come back and they go, look, it wasn't that game that you coached me in. It was what you taught me that one day when I was pouting on the court and you said, leaders don't act like this. And coach, let me tell you something. I was at my job the other day and I was so mad and I was gonna da da da. And I'm glad I did it because I got a promotion because I shut my mouth because leaders don't move like that. And that's just one random example, but I mean, we could go on for hours with those kind of examples. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, so that's happening kind of organically with me just interested in that stuff. I got to be way more intentional and plugging that aspect in there. And then that's when it just became a duplication factory. Not right now we got frameworks that not just go to how do you build a jump shot for a kid, but how do you make them a leader? How do you make a vocal point guard? How do you make a kid who's just lacks self-confidence, even though they train their tail off and they do everything they can do and they could be successful if they could just get over that doubt. Like, you know what that does for a person. Let's not even talk about a kid. Like that changes lives. And so when I saw the power to be able to do that, it was very exciting for me. And I drove even twice as hard as that. And that's kind of when I got away from actually the name of skills trainer, even though I know that's labeled as that sometimes. And
Hmm.
when you ask me, I'm a player development coach because all of those areas are part of what this is in development. Yeah, I can
Hmm.
give you a shot and a handle, but it doesn't mean I'm developing the player.
Correct. The fact that you do the fact that you do handle those high level athletes and then you do players that, again, their best years will be high school basketball for them.
Mhm.
How do you make sure you prepare those athletes for the next level of competition to where as though, when I see a lot of guys, like let's use a Kingston Fleming, when I see him, there's a good balance that comes into play where he had to have to where as though not to go too hard sometimes, but not to be too soft too, You have to find that balance. So what you just said as far as being that skill development and the overall, how do you find that balance? How do you make sure that that athlete's prepared for that? That you don't go too hard to him, like a guy is just missing his shots and just having a bad shooting day. That you don't browbeat him, but you kind of find that level of intensity to keep him at, and don't overdo it.
I think it's not getting wrapped up in the immediate situation.
Okay.
Like here's a good example. I'd helped tons of high school kids through the whole journey of high school before my son got there. And my son's just entering his junior year, right? Junior season, like early stages of junior season. And when he got to high school, I was like, wow, between club and high school. Like I didn't realize how many preseason tournaments and because sometimes kids would just be like, oh, we can't make it today. They're not telling me, oh, I got 4 games at the Alamo City Classic, blah, 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 Gasso, whatever. But when he got there and I was like, my goodness, I knew there was a lot of games in between all this. But when you get to the high school level, there's so many games that to get wrapped up in one game, one performance, one shot is actually very counterproductive to progress. And it's got to be in the long term. It's got to be, okay, why did this happen? Was it a random bad shooting night? Or was it like, hey, I see him rushing because he's, and I'm not just saying my son, I'm saying any player, like, because he's worried about making his shots for the coach or because he's intimidated because he plays with this player. Like, the Brennan kids are very confident and calm, but like maybe someone was worried about getting on the floor with the Kingston, right? Okay, well, if I see this every time you're on the floor with Kingston, let's go address this because this can be changed. You know what I mean? Another great example when I was just in Italy with this pro team, it's a young team, like very young team. And it's an old school hardcore coach. And she's wonderful. I mean, she loves on them just as much as she holds them accountable. But part of her is like, they're not this for me. And I was like, well, maybe not today, but what do we do today so that tomorrow we're 1% more? And then can we get 1% more the next day, the next day, the next day? And all of a sudden we stack days. And once you learn how to stack days and combine those days of 1% better, 1% better, one, you can relax. You don't have to panic when things don't go right. Heck, even 4 games in a row. Like you address it, but you don't panic. You just go, okay, well, what's the 1% for right now? And then once we fix something that's not on the track and get that 1% better so it's on the track, now we're on the track. Let's go to 1% better of getting back down to the mountaintop. And the mountaintop just takes so darn long. Like I'm even noticing it now with my pros, like Jordan Murphy, right? We've been working together for, I'm so bad at remembering how many years. I apologize for that. But I would say let's say 5 years now. He just won most improved player in Puerto Rico this last season. This is a guy with NBA G League experience.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Marcus Keene's another amazing example. I mean, the dude led the scoring in the nation for college, right?
Right.
And we didn't work together back then, as a disclaimer, but we worked together very early in his career. I just spent some time with him in France for a few days before I came back from Italy. And the conversations me and him had, just hanging out, eating dinner, was him talking about, man, 3 years ago, I didn't realize this. 3 years ago, I couldn't have done this. I'm so happy that we figured out 2 years ago to add this, grow this, build this. And when you see how long, and we're talking about a pro, everybody thinks, oh, pro, I'm good, I'm done. No, like if you want a career more than the average 2 years or 2.5 that it is for the average pro, then it's always going to be a marathon. You just sprint the marathon.
And I think a lot of guys don't understand that. They don't understand that once they get there, they have to still continue to grow and work. And that's why, like for me, I always use my military training and what I've learned there to let people know. I remember we always had goal setting from 3 to 5 years. And I hated it. I'm telling you, when I was there, I'm just letting you know I hated it. Man, I had to sit down with my leaders and I had to give them the plan. You had to come up with a real plan. Like, hey, I'm gonna be doing this and this, and I didn't like it. I thought it was so counterproductive. But guess what? It kept me on mark.
Yeah.
Kept me on mark and allowed me to hit those things to where as though I wasn't just blowing smoke. And I think more athletes, if we teach them that younger goal setting, they'll be better off. And which I've seen the Spartan program do, I see it builds a lot of confidence in kids. I see it gives kids the ability to shoot the ball when they don't think they can shoot and make it because when you play hard teams, those normal shots don't fall, but you got to have the confidence to take the shot first, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've seen you do a lot of real well with from the players that I know to train with you, and then I see them play and translate. So kudos to you with that. And you're right, it is a marathon. It's not a short race. It's a long race.
Yeah,
So
but not to cut you off, but what you said when they made you make your 3 to 5 year plan is exactly it. And it happens a lot with the kids. I make them write goals and send them to me, or hey, you made the team. What's your intentions for this role? Right? Like I did a
right,
roles and goals a couple months ago
right,
because like here's your
right,
role. What's your goals?
Right.
And they're kind of grudgingly, and I can tell who's struggling with it, like you said, because
Mhm.
they'll forget to text me back their answers, right?
Right. Of
It's
course.
not that they just couldn't work through the process, right?
Yeah.
But what I found is when it's on repeat cycle and we do it over,
Yes.
we do it after every season. Sometimes we do it
Yes.
mid-season, sometimes we do it
Yes.
after a big tournament, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. When they figured out the skill part and they go, oh, whoa, that design that we put together, even though I hated this process, it's the reason I got here. And it's the
Right.
reason I got even further than I thought I could because I was so intentional that when they get to that space, and I'm sure you now see it too, being older, like this is how you built your business and everything that goes with that, is it's actually the fun part of it all,
Correct.
the creation side of it, right? I was just listening
Correct.
to something with Tony Robbins the other day, and he was talking about humans are designed to be creators, not consumers, right? So
Correct.
once you figure out how to create, it's natural in you to like want to use it and just go see what is possible. So I think that's a lot of where it comes from too.
So it kind of leads me to my next question in reference to the fact that you're sitting kids down and you're making them go over goals and you trying to kind of come up with a plan. How do you how are you building those relationships with those families? Like how do you making sure moms keep that confidence in you when little Eric is not happy with you because just you made me do some stuff that in my mind I didn't want to do, but at the same time it was to build me up. So, what would you say to that about building relationships with the families and players?
Well, first and foremost, I always say that like a kid's development or player's development, whatever you want to say, is a triangle, right? In its core, and there's other people involved, but when it talks about the relationship with me, there's player, there's parent, and there's me. We're in a triangle together. So it's all got to come together. And so my approach in the triangle, or at least my role, I think, is alignment, education, and then that education evolves into perspective, right? Or it's also my job to know what's next, what's two steps down the road, whatever that may be, right? Doctors, lawyers, engineers, military, parents come to me. They might have played, but they don't understand it, or they don't understand this new landscape, even though they played college basketball 20, 25 years ago. And so alignment is getting them all in line. Like I want to know what is the parent, where's the parent at? And I'm not oh, I hate the parent, this parent, that. There's some crazy parents out there, but a lot of them are not, right? But it's the alignment. Like, how do you see your kid right now? Because if I'm start growing your kid and you can't see anything right in your kid, this is a waste of time, money, and effort, right? Like, so let's get you in alignment. Know your and the education is showing them that journey. Your kid is here on this journey. We could be here. We might surpass that. We might get to here, and this might be the ceiling. So let's just accept that now and know that you're going to invest and commit into this, but this is the possibilities. And then from there, like I said, that's where we build the same perspective. Everybody's on the same page. So I'm kind of giving away my secrets to my players, but when I go tell the players to go write their own goals, they don't know this, but I tell the parents, hey, they're writing goals tonight. Maybe have a conversation. Maybe don't necessarily bring up what we're doing, but bring up a conversation about what they want for the future. Help them pull that out of their brain because unfortunately, that's the one part I can't do. I can't be there with them. I can't be there with 26 kids in their house writing goals with them. It's not physically possible, right? So it's the alignment, getting them in the same page. If young Johnny again, I don't know, I keep using Johnny, but Johnny does have a bad game and he just had 4 20-point games. Make sure the parent doesn't panic because then it's going to bleed into the kid's confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's just a lot of that and just keeping my finger on the pulse of everybody. So I talk to the players, especially like the ones I personally train a lot. I help the whole program, but mine are older. Like mine are high school. The parents are okay with me talking to them, texting them, having conversations. They understand the value of it, right? It's not so much what I would do with the middle school kid. I could try to keep that boundary, or even younger, like definitely keep the boundary. And then but I'm also texting and talking to the parent. And so having those communications and of alignment and perspective really builds that triangle to be the best support system possible for that kid.
So with saying that, how do you measure when moms and dads bring the success of winning and losing to you about the growth? How do you differentiate that? And you kind of, put it what it is. Like, hey, listen, you're worrying about little Eric winning a game in sixth grade to where so that has nothing to do with anything other than, hey, did he play well compared to, a 12th grader or a college player or that pro trying to get that next big contract? How does all that come into play?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you really, you got to listen first, right? Like,
Right.
I think a lot of times us coaches and trainers want to put stuff online or talk, and we want to be the authority, we want to be the intelligent one, but you might give them a bunch of information that's not even helpful in that situation, right? Just like every player's different, every parent's different. They all have different experiences. They're all coming from different backgrounds, and they all have different. I said this the other day. I think a lot of parents, some of the stuff when they act in ways that is not cohesive to growth, is either maybe a comparison to others, but it's also insecurity that their kid is not as good as the others, and that's okay to have. I can't say I'm not guilty of that, right? So I get that. I may know how to manage it or look at it faster, but that I'm listening for short term and long term when I'm listening. Like, what is everything they're talking about? Is it now, yesterday, or tomorrow? Which
Right.
we could be in that, right? For a high school kid trying to play in college, hey, tomorrow might be a big day. And we got
Right.
to do something tomorrow. Like
Right.
tomorrow, the ROI's got to come from this training, right?
Right.
Cool.
Right.
But I'm not talking for that. Like when I bring a high school kid on, especially a lot of the high school kids I have either already have a chance at college or I think have the potential of college. And I say, look, we're in this for 8 years, not 4.
Right.
And when we start like that, I think it helps the long term more. And when they are thinking a little too short term, which we can go back and forth, and I'm guilty of that too, as a parent, I just remind them, like, hey, remember, we're changing a habit, we're
Mm.
changing muscle memory, we're
Yes.
changing,
Wow.
they're changing a role. We did something
Right.
good. They got so much better that they have a bigger increased role. Or now it's high school, it's not middle school anymore. Or now
Right.
it's college, it's not high school anymore, it's varsity now. And just the small reminders, because we've already had a good understanding in the beginning stages of working together, it kind of makes it easy to get their mind back on the rail and just focused on the triangle, knowing that the triangle is a long-term investment.
So, what's the biggest challenge you faced as a program owner and a coach, and how'd you overcome that to where as though, just I can just imagine some of the things you deal with, just being so successful at what you've been doing for the last, few years. So what challenges and you can't use COVID.
One of the biggest, that's for sure. The only thing bigger than COVID would have been when I first came here. I had no community, no outreach, no
Right.
smartphone, no social media, and I thought it was cool to start a business, a basketball business, and that was the hardest. But I would say a lot of the challenge has been adapting through time. Even though I enjoy that, it's another game that was difficult in the beginning that I love trying to adapt. I actually am working on some things with AI and online and digital that I'm gonna release here in the next month or so, especially going into 2026, that I think is going to be ahead of the curve a little bit because it's now become a game for me. But it was hard in the beginning, right? And like most things that
Mhm.
are hard, they grow you, they groom you, they educate you, and then you can build them as tools if you leverage them in that way. And so I would say it was a lot of that, starting here with nothing. Even just balancing, like, okay, basketball takes you out of your house a lot, no
It
matter what
does.
your house responsibilities are. And I speak to that from a father, a husband, or just maintaining a good positive household, right? And so learning how to balance that,
Yes.
um, being a trainer, coach, dad, learning how to balance being when to be dad, when to be trainer, and
Yes.
making sure I can communicate that to him. Hey, look, I'm dad right now, or I am training right now. Them, I should say them. Um, those are just really the challenges. I don't know. Like I like challenges enough, and
Yeah.
it's been a fun journey, and the ROI of always getting through something hard has been amazing. Like because that's usually when the good stuff and the breakthroughs come, right?
Right. Right.
I just now get to a space where things are going to be challenging and cool. Let's go engage it, right? Let's adapt and overcome and see what pops out of it, right? I don't know if I was that positive in the beginning of COVID, but eventually I got to that space too. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And it happened. Like I'm
Right.
ticked off that I got to do Zooms in my
I
backyard
know, right?
patio. And
Yeah.
then, like, it comes to we get done working, we have a conversation just like I would with a kid at gym. Hey, this is what I think. This is where life is right now. Set your goals, whatever we're talking about. those conversations got me through COVID. And I
Right.
can't tell you how many parents came back to me and said, look, this is the 1 hour they get some positivity fed in their lives. And I can only imagine for a kid, especially kids in this generation to go through COVID, like
Yes.
they go through hard stuff, but it's not hard like it
Right.
was
Right. Right.
before, pre-digital world, right? So
Right.
um that was pretty cool. And that's why I don't know. I don't really hang on to the hard. I just, like I said, adapt, overcome, and let's
Right.
see what fun things we can create on the back end.
There you go. All right. So we kind of know your journey a little bit. Like you said, what, got you here as far as, what are some of the biggest, who are some of the biggest influencers or mentors that you look up to in the basketball world and how they continue to inspire you to continue doing what you do?
Well, let's start with my JUCO coach because, and we won't get into it too much here, but let's just say I was pretty wild as a teenager. Like I had no business trying to walk on to a junior college. And this guy had been successful. He was inheriting a rough, beat up program, but he was a very successful coach before this program. And he gave me a shot, especially because it became a moment where I had to go up straight to him and be like, hey, this is what's happened to me over the last 3 to 5 years. This is who I've been. This is what you're getting. And he was like, okay, I get it. I get the mission. Right. And did I play much the first year? No. I started earning playing time the second year, but it was like he needs to wear this jersey because who knows where life is going to take him if he doesn't put this jersey on. And
Right.
that was a lot for me. Right. And then I learned
Right.
how to become a man with this guy as well. When I got here, I would say Walter Kramer, just an amazing person. Like I wanted to be a skills trainer like Coach Kramer, but I wanted to be like, because I met him in his older years too, right? As far as training, and I
Hmm.
wanted to grow up to be a man like him.
Yeah.
Dan
Yeah.
Hughes. Dan Hughes was the first, gave me an internship with the Silver Stars when they were before they were the Aces. Gave me a chance to just one be on staff, but then also was like, here you can train Gia Perkins. Here you can run some things in practice. So I had this feeling in my mind and heart that I can make it at this level. I can be successful.
Right.
And he
Right.
was the one to greenlight it. And after that, I believed in it to the fullest extent, right? And relationship with Daniel Robinson came out of that. We worked together her whole career, and that piggybacked so many different things. I got to give it to Raymond Briggs as well. Raymond, I met him in a pizza shop when I first moved here
Hmm.
from New York, him and some other guys. And he took me on his wing. Hey, look, we work out all the time here. This is when I still thought I was going to play my last 2 years. This is how I work as a D1 player because he was at UTSA, right? And this is what you
Hmm.
do. Because I didn't get all that when I was younger because of the trouble I
Right.
got into. And so he was that. And then when I started realizing he became such a close friend, when I got into the coaching space, he's like, okay, I got opportunities for you that too, because he was about 5 years ahead of me. And so
Right.
even to this day, I look up to Raymond and he knows that very much so. So a lot of people like that. There's been some other cool
Hmm.
ones around the way. I have to say Gannon Baker because
Okay.
when I first started being a trainer, I wanted to be like Gannon Baker. Like, I just love his energy and passion, and that's who I was at the moment. Like, let's go get it. Let's sweat. Let's, well, what I mean. Let's attack this thing. And then I got the chance to be mentored by him, and that was an awesome experience as well because he was someone who helped me keep believing that what, at some point you're gonna be this. At some
Hmm.
point you are really gonna be this. So, and then lastly, I could list off 100, but I would say George Hill.
Okay.
In my opinion, I don't know if I was ready to train an NBA player when George Hill gave me a chance. He gave me a chance, and everybody talks about you better be so ready to train these NBA players and you can't mess up. And with some, yes, because they'll leave real quick. But George was patient. George put me around people who I could learn from, other trainers that he had, or
Wow.
staff from Indiana, from the Pacers that he came around, and he let me learn from them. And George gave me a chance to really become a professional trainer, in my opinion, as far as what you said, with longevity and,
Yes.
and a platform to grow upon.
Yes. Yeah. That's the again, when you get in this business, for me, when you get in this business, you got to surround yourself, right, wrong, or indifferent, around those who are successful also. We don't always have to agree on all of the coaching philosophies, but at the same time, we got to see for what it's worth of who we're developing, what we're trying to do. And so to me, that's what I've learned the most or seen the most. And I don't think I did enough of that. So that's why I'm trying to, like I said, this platform here will do those things. We'll introduce Tim Springer to make sure that everybody knows, like, hey, this young man has been doing it for so long, the way he's been doing it, and And no matter when I first started out, how I looked at it, but now the longevity piece is there. The players that went through his program, I know personally, and they grown and they got better and they developed and those things. So those things we got to surround ourselves with those kind of people and talk shop sometimes every now and then. Not all the time, but we got to talk shop every now and then. So again, and I see you give back and you do it. You never shun me or didn't want to talk to me. You always gave me love. So that's why I said, hey man, you do it the right way. So again, man, flowers to you, brother. Flowers to you. So that's good stuff. So what lessons from your playing and coaching and just your business side do you try to pass on to your athletes?
The core things that I believe in, obviously, like with gratitude, like be grateful that you have this game in your life. You know what I mean? Even with the pros I was dealing with over there in Italy just a little moment ago, we talked about that. Not that they would come in begrudgingly, but it's a grind. Sometimes you could see the grind like on their body, on their face, on their energy. And I was like, look, I get it. This is not easy at all. Everybody thinks this is the glamorous lifestyle, but this is tough. But let's be grateful that this is what we get to do, right? Like we get to bounce a ball and get paid. Like my goodness, right? We're not having to dress up in a suit. We're not trying to have to sit behind a computer. We're not having to, there's a boss, but the boss is trying to empower us, right? And not to say other jobs don't do that, but that's the culture of basketball. And so the gratitude is very important, and not just the pro level, all the levels. Uh, just figuring out who you are or who you're going to become. And because, like I said, anytime you're in a space of growth and development, basketball, military, whatever business, right? It teaches you who you are in that moment, who you were to some degree, and then what's possible for you. And I love that space of it too, because players sometimes go, well, I'm not the starter. I'm not the A team. I'm not varsity. I'm not. That's right now. Maybe this no that you're getting in life is one of the most biggest catalysts to your basketball career or something that happens to you way down the road. You know what I mean? I'll give a great example. A kid, Stephanie Ruiz. She played at Taft. She came to me after her sophomore school season. She was going to play club for me, but she trained me. She trained me all the time. Like, kid basically became an adopted daughter to me. And she got told no all the time because at that point her skill set was kind of average. She wasn't the most athletic, even though she was 5'9". But and then when she got to a space of being a college recruit, she got told no by a lot of D1s and stuff. And to be honest, maybe her athleticism wasn't D1, but the kid had the work ethic, the kid had the mindset, the kid had the identity, she had the skill set for sure. She grew into my opinion one of the best shooters in the city for sure at her level. I watched her outshoot male pros in workouts when she was in college, like outshoot them. But she got told no so much that it just created such a drive in her that she's now a college coach. And she tells me all the time, like that being told no, overlooked, discriminated by my athleticism is why I am who I am. So getting them to see that, and I think just serving the common good of more, like you're actually unfortunately in America, a lot of times we're building ourselves, for our scholarship, for our rankings, for our reel, so we can get the next interview. And that's not a knock towards you or any other guys, but these kids chase that crap. Like, well, it's crap when it's that. It's great when it's proper exposure, like what you
Right.
guys do. Let me say it. I don't we're
No,
taking this out of
appreciate it. I
context.
appreciate it. I
But they're
appreciate it.
doing it for that.
Right.
No, do it so you're a contributing member of this team and you help them win. And then all that stuff that you want is coming on the back end in twofold anyway. But you're gonna feel way better when you served your team and you won than you're gonna feel when your highlight reel goes for 5K views. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yes.
I just think there's that. And then going back to trying to give the things that we've been able to experience in my program is especially with the overseas part, like, man, I've been to probably 7 different international countries with amazing people and amazing experiences that I will go to my grave forever thankful for because of this game. And I
Mm-hmm.
was willing to open my mind enough to say, this might be possible, right?
Yep.
Because for a while I was
Yep.
just like, I'm just gonna be the best in San Antonio. I'm gonna be the biggest in San Antonio, and it's cool when I get hired in McAllen. It's cool when I get hired in Dallas. Nah, it's time. And I remember the summer, no, it was a fall. All my players, my pro players, I had about 10 or 12 of them at that time. We worked all summer, and then within a matter of 3 weeks, they were all gone because season
Yep.
started. And I'm sitting here like,
Damn.
I'm good enough to
Mhm.
help them, which means I'm good enough to help wherever they're at.
Right.
How do I get there? And basketball was the platform. And so those are the biggest things, that gratitude, the becoming who you're becoming, and really open your mind to what's possible while you're in this. We give so much to basketball. If you're going to be serious about this, you're going to commit, you're going to try to play at a high level. I mean, you're dedicating a portion of your life. That's why that ball is life statement almost is true. I say it's more lifestyle than life,
Hmm.
but you better find a way to get back from that. You know what I mean? Like it will bless you to where you don't even have to do it selfishly. That's why it's crazy when they start on the front end with selfishness.
Right.
Like it's actually when you give first, it comes back more and better.
10 times.
Yeah.
10 times. So, Ben, there's times that we do this and we get a little burnt out. We're like, damn, I gotta do this again. How do you stay motivated and you continue to grow as a coach? Again, I gave you your flowers and reference to seeing you on TikTok. And that's what really, I'm telling you, man, that's what really made me say, hey, this dude loves what he's doing. And I saw that commercial you did on TikTok, looking for players, advertising for yourself. You didn't have any gadgets. You just had a basketball goal behind you, and you saying, "Hey, come to the gym, let's work."
Yeah.
So, where's that motivation come from, man?
One, like I said, growth is fun. Like I think it's born when we're not growing. I
Right,
think it's born with, and again, if you listen to anything with Tony Robbins, he'll tell you that, right? That's another
right. Yep.
intrinsic need we need as humans is growth, right? And so that's part of that. Um, and then the game now becomes like duplicating it, right? So I have wonderful trainers under me. I got, two former players of mine, Lauren Rubio, who helps at times during the season she can, and then Jalen Barner. And then I have a couple other ones that are coming up, Vince and Josh, and got Roth as well. And they're trying to be in that space. So like that, watching their hunger and going, oh wow. Like, and I got a habit of hiring people that were like me at that space, right? And so I'm
Right.
like, wow, this is fun. Like, cause if I had, I had mentors, but I tell Jalen all the time, like, bro, you don't know how blessed you are. Like, yeah, I had mentors, but I had to reach out to them. Sometimes they were too busy for me. Sometimes they had things going on, right? My number one job is to make sure this dude is as good as he can be. Like that's how this
Right.
program grows. And so
Yes.
that's fun that it's at that stage now. Um, it is fun that my oldest, he's now at the space of like he's not done. There's still a lot of a journey left, but he's getting to see the stuff that you've been working for to get to varsity, to
Yes.
have a college coach interested in you. You know what I mean? Even though we're such early stages of that process as well. But like that's another driver for me. um, and just I don't know, like I think I'd be happy even if I was just in San Antonio, but the fact that doors around the world are still opening and
Right.
I get to grow. Like it's so much more of a growth thing in Italy when you have to learn the language, you have to learn the culture, you have to
Yeah, you
learn,
do.
you got to go in and like sometimes like this last one, I went in on a 3 week window. So
Right.
I did as much prep as I could, watched film, talked to coaches, but until you get boots on ground, you don't know, right? Just like military
Yes.
before you
Yes.
deploy, they're gonna train you, but it's different when those boots hit the sand, right?
It's
So,
definitely different. Definitely different.
but that's the fun part. That's the fun part. Like, get there, make it work, especially if you only had 3 weeks. I mean, I spent a season there before, but even then, felt like it was moving at this, the speed of light. Like, I had to figure it out fast. That's fun to me. Having to learn a new language, that's fun to me. Like, there's these avenues that basketball will give you, and the more
Right.
you move in that space, it starts opening other things for you that you never thought was possible, right? Or
Right.
um, I'm opening. I don't know if you've heard of the online platform called School, where you build communities around whatever your profession or specialty is. I'm
Okay.
doing one that has a lot to do with all this performance and perspective that I give to players in the gym with me, or that my trainers help with, because I feel like, man, there's so many kids that could use this. There's so many players, period, even pros that could use this, and I can't
Right.
reach them unless I find another platform. I don't I've put stuff online in social media. I can't
Yes.
say I'm great at it. I really prefer like the in person, let's just do it hand to hand type of thing.
Right. Right.
But that's a challenge. That's a new growth for me. Can I be effective in a digital space where my subconscious always wants to say, no, it's not going to work through a screen. And then I got to figure out how to get in that space and impact in those new platforms. So it really is just the variety, it's the growth, it's the new, it's the fact that especially when you get a duplicatable system that works year after year
Yeah,
after year after year, like we talked about, and I say this with humility.
yeah,
Yeah, I've helped 150 kids or whatever the number is. I don't even know the exact number get into college, but now also every year more are going. Period. Like it's predictable now. And it's not just that
right,
stage, it's the varsity, it's the first team all district, it's the making 18 for the first time. Like we
correct.
know this is going to keep happening. And when that
Yes,
engine starts running, it gets kind of fun because now it's the game of, well, how many can we do this for?
yeah, yeah. And you mentioned that, the ball is life, but ball's a lifestyle. So how do you take that and you balance that life, work, business ownership, home, wife, like you said, son, every now and then trainer. How do you balance all that? How is that to where as though you would tell someone, hey, this is where my balance would become. Here's the notes you can take if you want to.
Yeah. Um, I would say, at least for me, I've never been perfect at it. I've been right in moments, I've been wrong in moments. I've been really right in moments, I've been really wrong in moments too. Um, and just I think not letting basketball become life to where you're not pulling back, and as much as you're thinking about your team or your players or your program, are you spending time in a notebook also trying to plan and help and think about what are you going to do for your kids, what are you going to do for your spouse, what are you going to do for whoever you take care of, maybe you take care of mom and dad now in their older age, whatever, right? But like
Hmm.
taking time, just as much time and planning and intention in that was early on. It was like, oh, all I could think about was my program, my business, my teams. I had teams at that point, my players.
Right,
And I was like, oh, I'll get to this part. Next thing I know, 2, 3 years go by. That's not fair to my family. And I
right,
had to learn that the hard way. And so I
right.
think having your finger on the pulse of knowing that, because I've also had the ups and downs in basketball and in business, where the only people that were there for me when I went home were them.
Right.
So that's not right for me to cheat them. Like they actually get priority. And
Yeah.
so I think as I've got older, I've matured and seen things in a different light. That's helped me a lot. Um, here's one I haven't really talked about this, but I'll talk about this because I think this is good. And I've had enough conversations with people to know that a lot of us in this sport, not all, but we've had some stuff go on in our childhood. Maybe not the same stuff as me, but we've had some things. And basketball was the therapist, especially
Yep.
for older, where therapy wasn't a cool thing or a normal thing back in the day, right? You seemed
Facts.
like something was wrong back in the day from therapy. And so we used Barrett basketball as therapy and as a player. And some of us stuck around the game as coaches and trainers because it continued to be that therapy for the things that we didn't fix and build in ourselves or heal in ourselves. And that
Yep.
happens. Problem is, and I know this for firsthand, whether it be your family or your basketball or whatever it is, if you don't heal it and basketball just continues to be the therapy, for some reason that wound or that, I don't want to use the word cancer, but that metaphorical tumor grows and grows and grows and it spills over into the things that you love. And you got to know when to find that help in that space outside of basketball. And I think
Hmm.
balance comes for very much because when I started to get some help for some of the things that I had to experience young, I became a better coach, I became a better dad, I became more patient, I got to see things bigger. That's when I started
Yeah.
thinking bigger than the world, right? Like I started to
Right. Right.
realize I don't
Right.
need to be in the gym 24/7. I can hire trainers and that's actually more powerful, right? And things
Right.
like that. And what really helped me, I think, because when I got here, it was like, oh, I'm not good enough because I'm not from here, or I'm not good enough because I only walked onto my JUCO. I'm not good enough because I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna
Right.
show you. And I became very competitive, sometimes combative with whoever. So I wasn't really a community man when I started. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
learned the leverage of community. But then after, I think it was after I spent that whole season in Italy, I came home because it was always I got to a point like I know I can be at this pro level. And I'll be honest with you, I had some of my constituents like this dude doesn't belong to be a pro. I should be training his clients. I should, or like if it was with an agent, they'd be in the same gym as me. They'd pull the agent to the side, like, man, you shouldn't let that dude train these guys. He doesn't know what he's doing. He should let me do it. So like there's all this where I had to keep it kept festering. And then when I did that season in Italy and I did what I would consider a good job, my head coach loved me. If he didn't get fired, I probably wouldn't have got fired, right?
Hmm.
um, but it let a weight off me. And when it let a weight off me, I started to realize how much it's so easy to balance family and basketball.
Right.
So my point in that long story is that, like, make sure it's none of that. And we all go through trauma in different ways, right? It doesn't have
Right.
to be as extreme as the things I saw as a kid, but it
Right.
could be trauma that holds you hold on to, and it still
Right.
spills into different things. And I've seen it with coaches. You know, watch how
Yeah.
they react in certain circumstances. And
Exactly.
oh yeah, you probably got to work on that. And I'm not naming anybody specific. I've seen it in cities where I didn't even know the coaches. Let's say we're in Dallas for exposure tournament. I don't even know this team. They're from St. Louis, but I see
Right.
it. And
Right.
so that I think that's a huge part because I think it's also what drove me to overwork, even though I had to work hard to build. And that's part of where the neglect came in the back end for the family.
Right. So you kind of talk a little bit in reference to how you see certain things right now. What's your vision for, we talked about that a little bit too, as far as, seeing things ahead. What's your vision 5 years with the Spartan program?
Definitely more of the
Spartan basketball
duplication.
program, excuse me.
No, you're good. You're good. Definitely the duplication, getting more people in house that can help create more of the same results that we've been doing, right? Which isn't always easy. You got to get people to buy in. People want to stay long term. And then, like I said, really moving into that space with it's going to start with the school community, but it'll probably expand into other things as well. Thinking maybe even in-person events or something like that, speaking engagements, whatever, but really helping with the approach. I think the approach is getting so much more lost with the stuff we talked about. We're so worried about being ranked, so worried about being signed, so worried about um, did they post me on their Instagram account, this videographer or whatever, right? Like, no, let's just get to the approach and get to that space because it's going to serve you beyond the ball and everything you want in ball will happen with it. So definitely pushing into that. It'll be in our gyms as much as I can put it there. And then, like I said, I'm going to take this venture and take this leap of faith and go put it online so people can access this as well. So duplication of what's in the gym, performance and approach outside the gym, mental, everything of that nature. And I haven't found the bridge yet, but I'm
Hmm.
working on it of either bringing Americans overseas or overseas to America. I've actually been able to do a little of that, help some Italians make it play college here, but just maybe it's in the summer. Like we get them
Yeah.
together for 2 months. They train up together. You know what I mean? Some
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
Italians or top French or whoever with some top San Antonio kids or maybe top Texas kids. I don't know. And let's get them in the gym. Let's learn. Let's let them spend time together off the court and hopefully open that space where I talked about is like basketball can be as big as you want it to be.
Correct. Correct. Well, if you need a media guy for that, let me know. But
I
going back
got
to
you.
what you said though, in reference to that, that's one of my platform knows I won't ever do. I won't ever rank a kid. I'm telling you that now. You hear it from me first. I will never, I'm not going to use the word never, but I will not ever rank a kid. I'll talk about a kid, but I
Yeah.
won't rank them. And I think, going back to, support what you're saying there, I think that's where sometimes we help as adults, not trainers or coaches, but we help as adults and parents feed into that. Because like you just said, that kid's ranked and then we kind of like, oh man, they didn't rank my kid high enough. And it's like, hey man, hey, I used to tell my guys, if you made the list, just be proud. If you didn't make the list, let's just work harder.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's all you can do because it's not in your hands. So anyway, I don't go no tangent on that.
No,
But
but you're right though. You're right. You can
so
use
how
some
do
of
you,
the changes.
so with saying some of the things in reference to the health of basketball here in San Antonio, some of the things you want to bring to San Antonio, what do you see where are we at as a basketball, not just I don't want to compare us to Dallas and Houston because I'm gonna tell you my biggest knock is we have too many doggone schools. That's just my biggest knock, but I'm not even gonna go on that. But where do you see our state of basketball as a city right now?
And and here's why I think it's good. When you hear the different sides of it, right? Oh, I think it's good because we've done this, and now we got kids like Kingston Flemings representing us, or whatever, right? And then you hear the other side, yeah, well, we only had three D1 kids or whatever. And then it turns out we end up having like seven D1 kids, right? But it's like everybody wants to measure on stuff that's not the controllables, right? We can't control the population. What are we going to do? Flip this out for Houston, take all our kids, and San Antonio will give you theirs, right? It's not going to happen. So what I like is that there's communication. I like that there's, especially lately, there's been a lot of alignment amongst different organizations and not just like team to team, trainer to trainer, but like Mike Daniels. I love what he's trying to make the tournament space a better space, right? I like what Mark Veers tried to do with like bringing very knowledgeable basketball people and educating. Like just there's a lot of stuff. You guys do great stuff too, even with the kids, and because I think when you guys do with the kids, and there's a couple other doing it well, but like you ask them questions so that the next generation or a kid that looks up to them can go, okay, that's how he's doing that. And they might not be able to get in the gym with that kid. So now they go, oh, that makes sense to me now. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste what he does. And so there's a lot of all of that going on. You know, there's a couple guys who have a lot of influence. I know they're starting to bring some trainers together. They're starting to bring some teams together to do some projects. And I think that means that we are in a good space, right? Because again, we can't with the controllables, what we have to control. And the controllables are what kind of intention do we have? Are we educating people who need to be educated? Are we training people who need to be trained? Are we coming together for the common good? Are we making surface level changes? Or are we making changes that can really serve us beyond us, like similar to me having more trainers, right?
Right.
Now it's not just, oh, what can Tim do? How long can Tim be in the gym? No, Spartan basketball can be in the gym 7 days a week. And
Right.
so just, not to use my example as the only example, but like those are the things that make me feel like we're in a good space.
Yeah.
And I think we're moving in that space. I feel like some of the bias or some of the petty stuff is probably still there. I try to avoid it. And being a trainer, I don't always have to be around some of the nonsense. A lot of nonsense
Right.
happens more during games and tournaments. And that's not because of the directors, it's because the competition. But um, I think we're moving in the right space. So how can you not say we're not in a good space?
Exactly. I agree. I agree. I think the last four classes, I think we've been doing everything right. I just think we're going right where as though those classes before are pushing the grades down to get better and want to be better. And I think, like you said, yeah, I agree totally 1,000%. So if you could give a young athlete any kind of advice on just what does it take, not just to be part of the Spartan program, but what does it take to be, I don't want to use the word successful, but I'm gonna just say the words of just to be the player they want to be. That's the best way to say it. What would you give that advice and or how would you give that advice and what would it be?
E times do equals success. That's the same equation I tell every single player that B times do equals success. Who are you going to be or who do you need to be? And then what do you need to do? And it's just a process of reverse engineering it and just making sure, again, the same thing we've been talking about for the last hour or so. I know you're starting to miss the Eagles game. I apologize. You probably got it in the background. I can see the reflection in your shades, man. No, but
No, no, no.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
We still got
But
10 minutes. We good. We got
oh,
time. We
okay.
got time.
So B times do equals have, right? Or I say sometimes success, right? Because I don't want to think, oh, I just have this. No, it's success. And so who do you need to be and what do you need to do? And they get wrapped up in do. I need to go work out. I need to go train. I need to go. Now, who do you need to become? Because how many stories do you have? I know I got a million of they did everything, but they didn't become someone, so they didn't get the success. Right?
And,
Players like Marcus Keene, players like Leslie Vorpal, who ended up being two-time San Antonio Player of the Year, great Tulane career, has been playing for, again, I very forgetful years. I apologize, Leslie, if you see this, 7 or 8 years as a very undersized guard. Marcus Keene's 5'9". Like it can't just be a dude. There's no way they last in the pro world at the levels that Euro Cup, Euro League, like you know what I mean? Marcus not only leading scorer in college, but was 3 times a leading scorer in different pro leagues. Like there's B in that. And so that's it. B times do equals have, or B times do equals the success you want.
well, I try to not get caught up with using the word success because we all look at success differently.
Yeah.
Like again, I always make a joke and say I don't think sometimes I was meant to be a millionaire because of just how I am as a person and how I would have been if I was a millionaire. I'd be very arrogant and not, and I don't think anybody would really rock with me then. But I'm just saying I joke and say that and just say we all got to measure our own successes from what we do out of the things we have versus, the next person might be away, with the opportunities they had, they be a millionaire and be fine with it. They might be a little bit more humble than me. So I just say every person's success is different. So I try not to use that word to say, hey, are you successful or are you not? I just try to measure, hey, the things that you're trying to accomplish, are you accomplishing those things? You
And
know?
that's the success.
Exactly, exactly. So my last question, legacy. I'm big on that. You're a military guy, so you understand. You definitely know where I'm coming from when I'm mentioning legacy. What's the legacy you want to leave behind with the Spartan basketball program in our community of San Antonio?
Got you. Well, I hope, I guess at the core of it, like you said, every time you've seen me or heard something from me, it was always positive, it was always impactful, it was always in the right direction of growth. I hope I've created a community, a Spartan community within the San Antonio community that also spawns more of that, right? When you hear a kid currently is with Spartan basketball, you don't just hear that they're a good basketball player, but man, you hear they're a leader. You hear that they're doing things in their community. I use the Ryan Forstier example again with Forward, like what she's doing, what she did and is still doing at scale now at USC with it. Like, I hope that's what impact comes from that, because those are the conversations we're having in our gym, or take the Stephanie Ruiz's or any other else that's, done with basketball in the playing field of it, even if they're not involved in basketball anymore. How are they not infecting, impacting the San Antonio community? Well, like, their attitude can be infectious, I guess, but hopefully not infecting in too many bad ways. But that, and then, one thing that I really inspired with Don Eddy, especially because I was there in his latter years as well, and I saw, even after he passed, the desire in the hearts of those who were there to keep that thing going, which easily could have just been like, well, Don's done, so we're done, right? And there was a desire and a heartfelt push to keep it going, even though it didn't last. And that tells me that his roots that he buried into the ground here, in other places as well, but here, were impactful enough that the mission carried on without him.
And I think you're doing that, and just continue to leave just do what you do, man. I'm telling you, a lot of kids, they're very, very, I see it. I see it in the training. I see it in the kids that we've known together, and that we, there's a time that we both were bringing up 27s, and I'm seeing it now in the gym, and I'm loving it. And that's why I keep telling everybody, man, as far as being in the gym and seeing the 27 groups, the last group that I know of, but see, like you did, you went and redid yourself, and I saw the group you got it coming up, and you just keep doing what you do, man. Last but not least, give us a fun fact, and then we're gonna sign off. You
Fun
gave us a lot
fact.
already. You gave us a lot already. So
Um, hmm. No, I'm horrible at these. Uh,
decide.
right now, I am obsessing with AI. I love artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Again, I'm every day I wake up. How can I run the program better with it? What else is out there? What can I do to help more? AI is a very interesting thing, and I think it's going to change our world probably 3 times what the smartphone or social media has done.
Yes.
And you'll see. I actually got some, like I said, some things I'm helping not only basketball players with, but business owners as well, coming really soon, because I love AI. I just think we all got to get on board, and not everybody's an early
Yes.
adapter. So I guess that's my job to sing from the mountaintop.
Well, hey, man. Again, I appreciate you. Thank you again. Thank you for all the support. It means a lot. And let's keep doing what we're doing, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on.